What's me? How's it hanging? How's it happening? You guys know it is. This is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast. The podcast Rolling Stone Magazine describes as the one that initiates profound discussions with rock and roll artists, line fans, cover the creative workflow of other famed musicians, and understand the factors that make the band succeed or fall from fame. We are all sponsored by Dark Fusion Systems, the best for your customary needs. Get $100 off your television TV pod at darkfusionsystems.com. Link to the podcast below. We keep bringing you the rankings of the millionpodcast.com top 100 metal music podcasts. We keep climbing the list. We're at number 14. As 14 is my favorite number, I want that number one spot. So we're going to keep climbing and going towards it. So keep enjoying the Chord Progression Podcast. We're going to get there. Go to our feature presentation. Fourth time this artist has been on the podcast. We have Mike, Steve, and Rob from Generation Underground back with us today. Their new album, Our Shattered Lives, is finally available for you guys to go check out right now. So we catch up with the band for the first time in over 3 years to figure out what took so long for this album to come out, because they were close to being done with this when we interviewed them 3 years ago. What took so long? We go into the songs. We go into the eclectic look of how these songs came to be so high quality. And yes, Mike and I get into a conversation and take on Ticketmaster. You guys ready? Let's go! Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. First off, if you're listening on the audio version, you might want to go over to the video version on YouTube, because there is a absolutely incredibly adorable dog on screen right now. But that's besides the point. This band has been on the podcast 3 times in the past, twice in 20 and once in 2022. And back when we had mine in 2022, they were so close to releasing a new album, or what it felt like. That was 3 years ago. Now, that album has finally come out. Our Shattered Lives has recently come out, and I am so happy to be able to bring these guys back to the podcast to catch you up with them and just get everything else going that we need to talk about. So please welcome back Mike, Roth, and now Steve from Generation Underground. So, gentlemen, welcome back.
Howdy.
Good to be back.
Good to be back.
Well, great to be back, and it looks like we got a dog that's getting biscuits?
I promised you one. Good boy.
See, this is why everyone's got to watch the video version, because we get animals to show up on the podcast. We get absolutely adorable creatures that are chewing on biscuits. Who wouldn't want to watch something like that while talking about music?
I mean, you know, it's funny you bring him up. He, from the week that I got him, Kevin, he's been sitting in on all the practices with us for. He was maybe 3 months old. He was sitting in on practice with us. So he even knows the set list at this point. And Steve will tell you about that. Literally, as the set list progresses in the rehearsal, and the dog can sense when the set list is starting to end.
Yeah, he definitely knows when it's the last song, and he gets all antsy.
So my question is, does he get all antsy, Steve, because he knows it's the last song and it means you guys are probably going to go soon and he can't see you anymore for that time being?
Maybe, or he just wants to get out of the room. I don't know.
Quite possibly just to do that. But guys, it's been 3 years since we've had you on the podcast. That is quite a long time. That might actually be the longest time I've had recurring guests in between shows. So it's kind of wild to think about, but I want to jump into it. First off, okay, what's happened over the past 3 years? Like, you got to let us in it, because I know the album was really getting done at that point in time, and 3 years later, it's finally out. So maybe I'll let Mike take it away, because I know he's the one that's been on the podcast the most. What has gone on, man?
So we finished it in late 22, early 23, and then our guitar player, Jared, he jumped in the project in, what was it, Raph, like January, February of 23, like in that range.
Yeah.
And then about maybe 6 or so months later, I was having dinner with my aunt, and we were talking like, oh, we need a drummer and we don't have anybody. And she was like, oh, well, what about Steve? And I was like, what about Steve? She's like, oh, like Steve needs a band. And I was like, but Steve's like in his 50s. And she's like, well, do you need one or not? And I was like, well, you know. And we've known Steve, Kevin, for years. Steve's son played baseball with my cousins. So we've known Steve. That's a big yawn, sir. We've known Steve for, what, Steve, 20 years probably at this point, more or less?
Yeah, well, I remember when you were a kid. So, going over and hanging out with your cousins. I would go over basically to hang out with your uncles and watch football. But you guys were there too.
And then the craziest thing about all this, Kevin, is that Steve's wife was a substitute school teacher in me and Raph's school district.
What the hell?
Yeah,
Yep.
all kinds of weird connections here.
That is an insanely wacky and weird connection, just to be able to, not only know these guys for quite a long time, but then also have your wife, substitute teach them possibly a number of different times.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, I was in another original band called the Hickson for 20 plus years. And, we finally came to an end, and I hadn't been doing anything at that point for like a year and a half. When Mike reached out after he had talked to his aunt, and I was like, okay, I didn't really know what the music was like at that point. He sent me some tracks, and then I was like, oh, okay, this is some pretty good stuff here. So, I said, let's give it a shot. I remember walking into the first practice and, telling Mike, did you tell your buddies that, an old man was showing up here tonight? And, so they all call me Papa Drums now. That's my little nickname in the band. And I'm sure when people come to see us live, they probably make some assumption like I'm one of the guys' dads, but I'm not. Just a metal drummer who was looking for some good music and some good guys to play with, and we fit together. So it's been working out good.
That's the important part about those, as long as you fit together, because we've seen artists from all different walks of life. And, we've seen artists that have people join the band. It could have happened out of nowhere. It could be from, a kid. It could be from, someone that's about 20, 25 years older than the rest of the band members. But all that matters in that point in time is does it actually work out? Does the chemistry work out? Because if that works out, then all the conglomeration comes together. Every bit of the live show comes together, and it just works. Because even Steve, when we were trying to do this the last time, I know you showed up, and my first thought was, did Mike get a manager or something for the band that's going to be sitting in on this? I was not expecting you to show up, and then I thought, wait a minute, that actually is the guy I'm thinking of. Oh shit.
Yeah, I mean, we weren't quite sure exactly how it was going to fit, obviously with the age gap, but like Steve gets it. Steve's kids are Steve, 2 or 3 years older than me and Raph and Jared, like.
Yeah.
So like he's pretty in touch with our generation, Kevin. He's not outdated. He knows how to use Boomerang on Instagram. You know what I mean? Like, so Steve's very in touch with what goes on. You know what I mean? And like me and Steve go to concerts either intentionally or unintentionally all the fucking time. Like there's all the time where we both, me, Raph, and Steve all live within 7-8 minutes of each other. So me and Steve are always going to the same shows.
Yeah. How many times did I run into you on the train to New York? Oh, hey. Oh, I guess you're going to this show. Yep.
But again, that's just how sometimes this stuff works, how you guys get connected with this. And Steve, I was going to ask you, what was it like, not only joining a band with people that are much younger than you, but if you've got kids that are right around that same age bracket, it might not necessarily seem as weird, or maybe as off, not say off-putting, but just doesn't feel as right as potentially it could have, with your original band, just given the age gap. But I still remember, this was back in the day, my dad was always telling me this dream he had where it was like me and my friends started a band, and we were looking for like a bassist or a guitarist and like a rhythm guitarist. And we asked my dad to do it. And he said that was a recurring dream over and over and over again. And he always wishes he could have lived that just for at least one day. So now I'm thinking about, I'm like, this actually makes sense, is when you find something you absolutely like and it just works for the people that you're with, why not run with it? Why not go with it? Because if you would have said no, what else would you have been doing with your time right now, especially with that musical creativity that you might have been yearning for?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, at that point, I had been kind of idle for a year and a half. And, when it's in your blood, it's in your blood. You got to play. And, the opportunity came up, and it was like heavy enough for me. I'm a heavy metal guy. I always have been. Obviously I'm a little older than these guys, so my roots run a little deeper. But I also try not to, be one of those guys that's stuck in listening to the music that I listened to in high school. I've always tried to progress and keep up with the latest music. So it was definitely a cool opportunity, and I was glad to take it.
Well, it sounds like the guys are glad to have you here. Well, I want to jump back to you, Mike, on this. So after Steve joined the band again, that was still not, the most recent time ago. And now the album is finally coming out. So still, what took so long for this thing to finally drop?
I think with us, like me and Raph kind of had the same problem where it was like, well, it's just me and him, like, and, we have Chris Penny doing, the working with us. And it's like, we need a guitar player. And I was doing this little side project with Jared. And then we eventually kind of agreed with the guy who was playing drums of why we just merge it together. So what we did for about pretty much the duration until Steve joined was we just sat there, me and Raph, we taught Jared the song. So we just sat there with a drum track, and then eventually the drummer ended up just dipping on the project. And then the whole Steve conversation came up, and then, it took a few months to get everything, solid. And then in December of that year, there's this radio station in Tampa called WMNF. And I go on there when I'm in town, and they were talking like, oh, like, would you guys want to do a show? And to this point, we hadn't played a show in 5 years. So I was just like, oh, and then kind of was like, oh, it's Florida. We've never been to Florida. It was a very enticing, and it kind of got the ball rolling of because we were kind of holding pat, I think we're close. We're not quite there yet to do shows. And they got that offer. We're like, all right, maybe it is time to do it. So we took some shows leading up to that. And I mean, you remember that, Steve, the first show in Brooklyn, not only did we all look a little, it was, I think, Jared's first time ever on a stage, mine in 5 years, Raps was in 10 years. And Steve had been a couple years, and just, I don't know, Kevin, it didn't really hit me until they handed me the microphone. They're like, oh, you got 2 minutes. I was like, okay, this is real again. And we hadn't been up there in literally years. So it went pretty well. And then, we did that show. We did one with Power Man 5000 about a month later, which was really cool. And then I would say by about the third show, we played at a launch music conference. I say that was probably the show we were like, okay, this is going to work. We're sounding good in this and that. And then one of the Mr. Speedy Gonzalez Zoe left the project then in April of last year for a few months. So then it only was me, Steve, and Jared for a few months. And then we did this really hot, dusty show in what would you even call that place, Steve? You played at in Nyack. I
don't even know what that was.
It was
an abandoned doctor's office. I don't know.
Yeah, it was like a strip mall, Kevin. It was hot and dirty and dusty. So Josh ended up playing bass that show for us, and then we did one in Long Island for the first time ever. And then Josh didn't show up, so of course Josh, dug his own grave once again. And then we did one more show at with King A10 and Extortionist in the last 10 Seconds to Life, and then Raph did his quote unquote farewell show. And then we did one in Scranton for the Electric City Music Conference, and then we were supposed to play Atlantic City last October, and then I got I don't know if it was COVID. I don't know if it was the flu. Whatever it was the sickest I've ever been in my entire life. I couldn't talk. I couldn't leave my room or the house for 3 straight days. So we had to cancel the show, which we've never canceled due to illness before. I could barely even talk, let alone get up on a stage. I had no energy. I had no physical strength. But, and we didn't really, we kind of were always teetering with when do we put the record out, and then this and that. And we just, surely but slowly we got the artwork. We had the artwork done over the summer last year. We started doing, the photo shoots and just putting the piece together, but never made a decision on when to put it out. And then it kind of started dragging along, and it was we kind of need to put this fucking thing out and stop dragging our feet. So in January, we finally got to play the premier local venue in New Jersey that we've been trying to play at for literally the entire duration of this band. That was a very big moment and a step for us. And then I would say maybe 2 weeks after that, we filmed the music videos for 5 Seconds Away and Family Falling Apart. And I feel like once those videos were done, Kevin, that's when it was kind of like, all right, like we're pretty good to go. I don't really know what else we need to do. And then it became I love the guy who did the videos, Nick. I love him to death, but it was a tug of war with the editing and just getting the right takes and just the right feel for the videos. We didn't wrap that crap up, Kevin, until probably May, June. Like it took a little while. So like, and then our manager, Alana Weaver, who likes to literally just scream and yell at me to get shit done. She was like, it's been 2 or 3 years. Like enough's enough. I was like, well, and she's like, enough's enough. Just put the fucking thing out. So we put together a timeline. It got changed a little bit, but more or less, I mean, we put out the first song back in July, and then we had a show literally the same day, so we were able to debut all 3 songs. Actually, no, I'm lying. We had played "What's the Vibe" 2 times before that show, but we debuted 2 of the other tracks. Actually, did we play 5 Seconds Away, Steve, in Long Island?
In Long Island?
The first time, or was it only just "What's the Vibe"?
I think it was just "What's the Vibe."
Okay, all right, yeah, you get the idea, Kevin. And just like, like when we're doing shows, we played this show in Kearney back in May, and then we did one in Long Island in June, which was, Kevin, the size of the room was, I think it held like 65 people. We got the headlining slot, which was really cool, but like Steve could attest to this. That was one of the hottest shows I've ever played in my life. I mean, the lights were just beaming on you the entire time, and it just sweat's pouring out. Like really cool venue, but definitely doesn't fit our style of music. It was way, way too small to be having like that intimate of a show. But more or less, it still was a good step. And the next show we played in New York City proper for the first time in a long, long time, which was really cool. And then I'd say probably the most proudest thing we've accomplished with like the 3-4 of us is we got the headline, like the local premiere venue in Asbury Park. Like we had the headline, the whole thing. That was really cool. We've worked a long time for that kind of, opportunity, and just, chance, and had all of our family and all of our friends there and this and that. And, then we did one more show in Dingbats about a month later or so. And that's what we've been doing. But we've been building all this momentum for a few months now with the record. And it's not that we didn't ever like believe in the record, Kevin, but like, the proof is in the results. You mean with, how well the songs are streaming, how well the videos are going. I mean, 5 Seconds Away is our most viewed video of all time. Not even close. Like it blows wide out of the water by like 7,000 or 8,000 views now. So, the record was the number 1 most added record of radio on 2 different charts, not one, but 2 different charts. It's 17 right now on the Metal Contraband. I think it's 19 on the NACC chart. Let me double check that. Yeah, we're 19 on that. So like, it's one thing to believe in the record, but the proof is like really showing of like how good of the quality of the songs and the videos and the artwork. It's just like, we're all really happy that people are really, really liking the record. You know what I mean? So it's a nice little reward for us that we're seeing such good results and such positive reception for everything.
So, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, when you're talking about just everything you guys have been through, of course, the different changing of the members, the different types of live shows that you're able to play and trying to build up that momentum, it does stand to reason that releasing the album, maybe at this time was the right move, just given the fact that you guys were able to create that positive drive, get back up on stage, get solidified as a full, act, and really take that into consideration so that now that the songs are out there, not only can people listen to them, not only is the proof in the pudding, proof in the results where you're talking with the getting added to different radio stations, when it comes to being on those charts, when it comes to the numbers of views and the number of streams that you're seeing, because like, why has it, like, the 5 Seconds Away has, I'm looking at Spotify right now, I believe that is 226 more streams than Y already overall, which is, again, proof in the pudding right there. But just looking back at it because of how long it took, and I know that you said you want to make sure that everything was right and you were putting all the time and effort into this. Do you wish that you got to maybe follow along with some of your like manager's advice, like saying enough is enough and maybe released it like a year ago or maybe a year and a half ago, just in hindsight?
I think all of our releases are about a year behind, if you want my honest. Except the first record came out on time, but like Volume 1 was supposed to be in 2019, and then Volume 2 was supposed to be 2020, and then this was supposed to be 2024, and it just never happened. I mean, again, we're just very happy that we're pretty proud of the songs that we've created and we've put out there, and that we have no regrets of what we've released so far, which is good. You know what I mean? And like, again, like the 4 CDs that we have, available if you want to buy them. Like it's nice to see everything kind of tied in together. And like, like we've run so many different songs in the rehearsal room of like seeing like what works and what doesn't work. And like, we played in New York a few months ago. We literally played every single song we've ever rehearsed, Kevin, except one song. And there were songs that me and Steve were sitting there going like, we haven't practiced this fucking thing in like 9 months. Like, this is going to be rough. And I think we honestly have proved, because everyone puts the effort in, of how well we sound as a cohesive band. And, like, yeah, there's going to be mistakes, going to be fuck ups, but like, the overall gist is like we really like sound like a great cohesive unit together. Everyone does their homework. Everyone comes prepared, and like I would argue that I think a big underlining thing that I don't think gets enough credit is Steve's brother. Steve's brother Barry literally is like the sergeant when it comes to these shows. Kevin, Barry, Steve's brother, is the most funniest dickhead you'll ever meet in your life. Just in your face the whole time, making stupid jokes, wearing his Philadelphia Eagle merchandise, and but like, I think the Steve Barry influence has been a really good thing for the shows, because it's like, all the gears load out in advance, and that we had a show in Lancaster, and remember the drum kit wouldn't sit still, Steve, and your brother literally was holding down the drum kit as you were playing the whole show, because the whole drum kit just kept shifting like this. So it helps to have, a really good team around us. No, you're not getting more biscuits. Goodbye. Thank you.
So you're going to need that team around you, especially to kind of push something like this, especially when you're trying to push further and further, to go from, not really playing shows and trying to just get everything put together, to now playing shows and trying to get this out more and more to people, even playing shows in other places outside of the New York, New Jersey area, even maybe coming over to places like, even further in the South, like he's played with Florida, maybe towards the Midwest, like Ohio, Detroit, Chicago even. Who knows? You might get some shows on the West Coast when you have a team around you that's willing to really put in the time and really believing in you guys. So it stands to reason, again, that the proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the results. When you listen to these songs, and now that you guys are feeling like a full cohesive unit live, we've seen plenty of artists. We've seen plenty of times where, we're seeing these inflated numbers on stream. We're seeing the inflated numbers on YouTube. And yeah, it looks great and everything. But what happens when that band goes and plays live? Or what happens when that artist goes and plays live? And that room that they're supposed to pack full of, hundreds of people, maybe 30 show up. Like, the proof is in the pudding there. But for you guys being so tight and so together up on stage now, being able to put these songs out and seeing the proof there now, and playing shows and having those people come out there, you can see that positive momentum is rolling, and that growth is going to continue to happen, and you have the people around you to help push you to that next step.
Yeah, I think also, like, there have been oh, there's the dog. There have been plenty of opportunities where, like, we've been on certain shows, and I forget exactly what show it was, Kevin, but it was the first show we did back in like 5 years. We outsold half the band's tickets, and we were, commuting people 90 minutes away, and we still outsold the headline or all the other bands. And it's like, and I think at that moment we kind of realized like there is something here. And again, like everyone brings a couple people with them and this and that. And, you know, like the numbers really show of like, I bring 7 people, Steve brings 5, Raph brings 4, Jared brings 8. It just like everyone does their part. It just makes the whole process just that much easier. And I think that like, I think the big thing is people are coming back. Like people are like watching our shows and are very impressed, and they're coming back and they're bringing their friends, and they're bringing their family, and like it, you know, it makes us all feel good that like all the times we've sat there and rehearsed songs, and like, you know, we're not afraid to sit here and say that like if we don't like it, we're not gonna play it, or we're gonna keep, you know, like Steve. I mean, Steve and I have literally sat there and ran the same song 6 or 7 times in a row until we get it right. You know what I mean? We're you know, it's not about being perfectionist. It's about, you know, getting it to be as best as it can humanly be, you know, on stage. And just, you know, like I think rehearsing once a week may not sound like that much, but there's a lot of consistency in that. And it's the consistency is showing in the attendance, the streaming numbers, the views, and, you know, like the cohesion of the band in general. I really think it's all one big whole massive thing that makes a big difference. And I'm, you know, really happy that, you know, the 4 of us and our manager and our radio team, like everyone together has put, you know, done a great thing the last couple of years of finally getting us to where we're seeing all these great results. I mean, I'm not sitting here bragging about it, but we've earned what we're getting right now. I mean, we've put the work in to, you know, achieve these things.
That's the key. You've put in the work in to achieve these things, and now you're finally starting to bear the fruits of that labor, you know, reap the rewards of that achievement and see where it's really come from. When it comes to new album, though, I do want to dive into it specifically because, again, new songs out there, and I want to get as many people into Generation Underground as possible, like I do every time you guys jump on here. And I want to start it by this way. So, with the brand new album that's coming out, if you guys had to pick, each of you, now I want you to answer from each of you. Normally, what I ask people, like, oh, you know, if there's a brand new album coming out outside of the singles, what's your song that you're most excited for people to hear upon release day and why? But this is all out there. And I want to get people into this. So off of the brand new album, which is the one song that you would want people to listen to really get into what Generation Underground is doing and why?
I'd say Keyboard Night Watch.
That's Craft's favorite.
Yeah.
I'm pretty partial to 5 Seconds Away, but that's because the drums are pretty slamming in that song. It's fun to play.
I would. I'm gonna go either What's the Vibe, Kevin, or 5 Seconds Away, just because What's the Vibe really sets the tone for what the record is. Because like the whole record, like those track list is literally the order of how we wrote the songs.
Okay.
But 5 Seconds Away, like Steve said, is really slamming. That was the song I always kind of thought would be the difference maker, just because it's got a little bit of everything, and it really was us pushing in like a whole new direction to see like how far we could take something. And I think that, you know, like What's the Vibe had like 10 to 15 likes, you know, like 19,000 views, which is great. Don't get me wrong. And then 5 Seconds Away had like 140 likes and 35,000 views. And I was like, okay, like the people are really, really fucking liking the song big time.
I can see why 5 Seconds Away might be that pick, not only in seeing what the results are, but just the overall sonic presentation of it. Because when I was going through and listening through it, again, want to make sure I get the best intrinsic look at the song and best take on it. You know, it's kind of like there's like a hodgepodge of ideas that's all in this song, all rolled into one, and somehow they work out in some insane way. There's a hardcore bass to the backing that is the core of the song, but for the most part, and like the changing pace that allows the song to be a lot more dynamic, and the vocals, and like I always think of it like from your vocals, Michael, as like a slam poetry style with how upfront, like brash it is and unapologetic, and it really somehow works here incredibly to create this desire for more anger in an intrinsic way. The ending bridge and solo goes a little more pop punk in theory, and while that doesn't make sense theoretically, sonically, it closed out the song in such a fine fashion that, yeah, that is a great song for people to check out and be like, now I can get into Generation Underground and really dive further deeper into the overall swath of songs that you have just off of that.
I just think that, like, I had this discussion with Steve a few months ago. I think that, like, everyone has their own little influence. You know, Steve comes from more of, like, the the classic metal, Priest, Maiden, Slayer kind of era. But then Steve's also very much involved with, Sleep Token and, Slaughter to Prevail and Falling in Reverse. Like Steve's very involved with like both, present and past, this and that. Rap's very big into, I don't know, Rap. How would you describe what you listen to? It's very unique.
I listen to everything, but a lot of the stuff I've been listening to lately sounds like music of the future. It's really hard to describe the sound.
It's very, I don't know.
I guess the best way to describe it is if you've heard of the Voids, then that's like the best way to describe it. Just listen to the Voids and you'll know what I mean when I say music of the future.
I was hoping that ringtone was going to be exactly what you anticipate. It's like, yes.
No. That just happened to go up, and I was like, yeah, let me fucking fix that right now. But I think also like the last couple of years I've gotten a lot more into like pop music and like drum and bass and like shoegaze. So like a lot of like structured shit where like you kind of learn about like the dynamics of like, kind of start harder, you go softer, you go back, you just kind of swaying, just the way things are structured. We write these songs with a very like
oh shit, he froze.
Structure in mind, and I know it's at the most like so like actually the shit that like Steve or you back, Raph?
Yeah, we got you back.
All right, we got him back. I think like someone like Raph like brings such a weird different element of like like Keyboard Nightwatch. He was talking about Kevin. Like Raph just came in with this like effects pedal, all these weird rips and this and that, and just like I think it's cool that we mix all these different influences in, and just like, and like Steve also plays in the Judas Priest cover bands. Like there's a little, like we're all pulling from different, Jared's big on, death metal and deathcore and slam. So like we're pulling so many different influences from so many different directions. And then when you work with the dude from Dillinger and Coheed, like he's going to have his own influences and that. So like I think we do a good job of like making sure everyone has a little bit to say in each of the songs, is that and just trying to, we're not trying to sound like someone in particular. We're just trying to just write what we think fits best for the songs. And just, I think, I think we've almost developed our own sound kind of just by writing whatever we feel is natural and not really trying to, like people call us punk all the time. And I'm like, I don't listen to any punk music really at all. So like, but that's like but that's kind of like part of the thing. It's like people are drawn like, oh, like the lyrics very punk, they're in your face. And, but, like the drumming's very, metalcore, and the bass is very, like shoegazy and this and that. So like, there's just, it's hard to describe what we write. It's just easier to be just listen to it. And then you kind of make your own determination after you listen to it.
Yeah, because especially, bringing on the podcast prior time, especially with the Cold Blood Volume 1 and Volume 2, I could see where you guys were going with it, but at the same time, I knew there was room to further grow within that sound. There's always going to be room to further grow within your sound as well. And listening to what you guys did on this brand new album, of course, Our Shared Lives, you're seeing more and more of that come out, and you're seeing more of that come out in those different pieces, those different influences coming forward. The one thing that stood out to me, specifically that I just had more of like a time to connect with, was just the vocal style that you work with, Mike. The vocal presence and the anger and the aggression you bring out in it with the inflection, with those patterns. Because I was kind of waiting for like that moment to where this is something that's really cool. But when's that moment where it's going to fully click with everything else that's going in the background on all these different songs? And of course, listening to some of the songs you guys put out for this brand new record, I'm like, I'm seeing it pick up. I'm starting to really see that aggression come forward in a way where that pattern is being inflected against the backing so hard, but it also works in congruency so well. And then today, just before we started, I'm like, you know what? I want to listen to a couple more of these just to make sure I'm getting everything fresh. Listen to Family Falling Apart, and I'm like, that's exactly what I was thinking. That's exactly the feeling of that vocal style coming together with all the different influences that are around the band, all the different ideas coming together, for me, if you want to hear that aggression in there and really see that come out in a much more, even more artistic way than a lot of other artists are doing, Family Falling Apart is the one you guys should check out.
Yeah, it's a good one. I like that one. That was another thing that when I first joined the band, a lot of people would ask me, what does it sound like? And I didn't really have like a definitive answer for them, which I liked, I don't want to be like, oh, it sounds like this.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the point of doing original music. So that was something I definitely noticed when I joined. I gotta bow out, guys, but you gotta keep it going.
All right.
All right, Steve. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for joining us. And, sir, we'll see you later.
Cheers.
I was going to say, well, we got 1 down, 2 to go.
Raph, how many beers have you had so far, Raph?
I just won.
That's calm, Raph, for you, Kevin.
Well, no, but you gotta see the beer I'm drinking. 132-ounce beer.
We can't see it. We keep seeing your car.
I'll say, don't worry, Raph. You're not the first person to drink on the podcast. You're not the last person that's going to be drinking on the podcast. I don't even think this is the only time you've ever drank on the podcast before either. So this is just kind of like commonality.
I think Steve was drinking a beer too.
Steve did have a beer, yeah. Like you and I are the only ones that aren't drinking right now.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm drinking on a Thursday night. Raph doesn't give a shit. Every night's a Friday night's a Raph.
Yeah.
It's not a bad way to look at it. But okay, so now the album's been out, especially as the time of recording this, for about maybe a little close to 2 weeks, maybe close to a month at this point. I know you guys are already seeing the positiveness off it in terms of what's going on with the charts, it being added to radio, the increased numbers of listens that people are giving this, whether it's on streaming sites, YouTube, everything else. What else you guys have been experiencing since the release of this record?
I think something that I've been thinking a lot of, and we did this with 1 or 2 songs, is that I think for the next record we're gonna really push more on the live band in a room, not recording the record live. That's a lot of fucking work. But really hashing out the ideas in a live setting, because I think that we've teamed with it in the past, but I think there's a lot that's left to be desired of structuring shit. You know what I mean? This has always been just the same, me and Penny, I write a riff or two, he goes to write some drums, we go back and forth. And I feel like on this record for the first time, the only time we ever done this was for Why, that we really sat there, because me and Matt wrote that song in a half hour. We literally sat there, had a riff, had a beat, and just kind of kept it going. And I feel like we kind of really want to tap into a more live element to the band, with the record and it is a little strange to see all this congruent success, and just that I think that it makes it rewarding for all the years that me and Raph have put in the effort and stuck with it, especially when we couldn't find any members and no one would show up, and just it's. We took our time with writing the record, Kevin, but Raph's on just about half the record with me. You know what I mean? Raph, Keyboard Night Watch, for example, Raph, that's Raph's riff. You know what I mean? Raph plays the lead on What's the Vibe. His vocals are on 5 Seconds Away. You know what I mean? Raph has his grubby fingerprints all over this thing. You know what I mean? Just working him in different ways. You know what I mean? And just I think we've all kind of we're all experiencing in different ways. When I got the call, Kevin, and we were #1 at radio, that was definitely a mind fuck. Not that I didn't think we ever could do it, but just was a pretty crazy. They're oh yeah, are you sitting down? I'm why? It's you're #1 at radio. I was what does that mean? He goes, you're the #1 most added album at radio, and not on 1 chart, but 2 charts too, and it'll be finalized tomorrow. And I was I just remember sitting on the train with Raph, and I just was this is pretty fucking crazy. You know what I mean? This is a pretty cool thing to be experiencing. And I guess when you've never experienced those things, it's kind of hard to gauge and what else is there left to achieve. And then you start tapping these different things. It's wow, we've never had these kind of numbers of streaming and, radio. And we've always had some success with radio and the views, but now we're seeing all kind of just together. And I think that's the big thing of just like, you know, being humble, not being arrogant, you know what I mean? Like, it's cool, but you don't want to be, you know, too cocky about it. I mean, this is, we're here for the longevity, not the short term.
It makes sense. You want to ride that momentum, but you also don't want to get way too ahead of yourselves with it. But at the same time, enjoy the win, because take a look at the fact that you were told to sit down because you're the most added album to radio on not one charts, but two. There's plenty of artists out there that would kill to have something like that. There's plenty of artists I've interviewed in the past, hell, even bigger ones that have never had something like that happen that would kill to have something like that happen. But you guys are able to pull it off. Even with how long this album took to get out, you're seeing that the quality behind it is what's standing taller than anything else. And the quality of the music that you guys have created is what's standing taller than anything else.
And I just think that us taking our time, Kevin, I mean, granted, half it was written during the pandemic, so there really was nothing to do. But I think us just taking our time was the biggest thing, because it just was like, all right, we'll write a song and then we'll, you know, work on another one and another one. We were never worried about the record. We just worried about just a song at a time. And like, people also don't like know, but like most of the singles, like whether it's What's the Vibe, 5 Seconds, Family, Dead Inside, which will be out on Halloween. You heard it here first. The lyric video is being worked on. It will be done for Halloween. A lot of those songs were written from scratch multiple times. Like 5 Minutes Away, I fucking hated that version of it. I thought it was terrible. And we just sat there and rewrote it, reworked it. And, you know, rap members says, well, what's the vibe? I wasn't satisfied with like the leads. And we sat there and we really hammered it out. And Raph played this scale. He's like, what do you think? And I was like, this is great. He goes, well, and I was like, Penny, I gotta track the fucking thing now before he forgets it, please. So, you know, like, I think we weren't quite ever satisfied, which I think was a good thing. We were just always striving to like, how to make this better? How to make this better? You know what I mean? And then I got to a point. It's like, all right, it's been like 2.5 years. Need to let the fucking bastard go. Like, we just need to just move forward and stop. You know, especially when you start doing vocal and guitar takes, Kevin, you're getting the same results. It means that you really can't get anything more out of it. So, which is good. It's a good problem to have. But you know, it's rewarding. Like Raph's Miller High Life right now. It's very rewarding to see everything working out so well for us.
That keeps the Miller High Life right now. Call it rewarding too, because I'm starting to see some of that with the podcast on the audio stream side, where all of a sudden from 1 month to the next, the amount of unique listeners and total listens to the podcast jumped up by 20 times. And I'm like, how the fuck does that happen? But it's quality, it's consistency, and it's just constantly being the best that you possibly can with the, you know, whatever art you're creating, whether it's me doing stuff like this or with more important art, more important things that are getting put out there, like the music you guys are creating. You put the time and effort into it. The quality is there. And you know now, especially when it comes to making more new music, which I know you guys are always going to possibly be thinking about and working on, that the time constraints should not be a thing for you guys. That you should do it on your time when the inspiration hits and work them to the point where you know that you like them and are satisfied with them, because if that's the result we're going to get, which is what is on this album, keep it rolling, keep it going. That's what we need to hear. That's what we need to see. We need to hear you guys at your most creative and without time constraints brings us that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I know like Raph and I were talking about adding like some like keyboard elements and like some like 2010s metalcore-esque influence to things. You know what I mean? Like, we're always trying to, you know, evolve our sound. We're not trying to be Linkin Park where, you know, 2 records of one style, different. We're trying to keep it core to what we are, but we're always trying to add different things. And just, you know, like, you're never going to take the catchy, you know, songwriting with the breakdowns out of us, but we're also not against trying different things to see what works. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You know what I mean? Like, we've tried our hand at a lot of different things. And I think that with 4 different people with 4 different influences brings a very interesting melting pot of things put together of just, you know, what can we achieve? What can we accomplish? And we're not, you know, like, and again, like whatever we do going forward, it's more based on singles, not a record, because putting out records are a pain in the ass. They're really a lot of fucking work. Singles is like, oh, you write, record, video, single, artwork, boom, done. I mean, like, it's easier that way. So I don't know if I want to be, you know, Falling in Reverse or Slaughter and take 3 years to put out the record and have 9 singles out and there's only 3 new songs on the record. But like, you know, we'll figure it out. And the industry is always changing, as you know, Kevin. Every day, the industry is changing dramatically.
Industry is changing every day. It's changing dramatically. I do like what you say. You don't want to be like Falling in Reverse and release an album like what they did. Their first album since 2017 came out 7 years later in 2024, and all but like 4 of the songs were released as singles starting all the way back in 2019. Like, the industry is changing, but there's going to come a point in time where the amount the industry changes is going to end up having to reverberate back to the wants and the needs of the consumer, which in this case is the music listener. So if all of a sudden you're like, brand new album, it comes out, we get 1 new song off it, if something we haven't already heard, we're like, then why'd you release this thing as an album? But if you release it as an album and you send out maybe 3 or 4 singles and we get 8 afterwards on release day, now we're feeling pretty good and you're still satisfying the current way that the music industry is running with the focusing on singles.
Yeah, I mean, and like, I think that you're never gonna be quite up to speed. You're always gonna be kind of a little bit behind the 8 ball. It's kind of impossible unless you're like bringing the Horizon, who always seems to set the trends, and then everybody else falls behind them. Like, it's kind of hard to be in the front wave. It's just, you have to just adapt with how things go, and just, you know, like, you know, it's a tricky business to figure out. You know what I mean? And like, I think didn't help that asshole from Ticketmaster came out and said, "Oh, we can make tickets more expensive." I was like, "What are you talking about? Like they aren't expensive enough already for people? Like how much more money do you fucking people need?" You know what I mean? Like, I think that the whole, like, you can illegally stream music all you want, but you can't stream a t-shirt, you can't stream the concert. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the whole live experience is becoming a fucking cash grab, where it's too much money. It's not even the artist making the money. It's becoming a cash grab for these venues and these companies, where, you know, the typical person may be turned off from going to a show because they don't want to spend $70 when the ticket should be $40. You know what I mean? I feel like we're losing that with, you know, society, and just, you know, like, you know, I see all these different styles of music, all these, you know, like these like fucking Lady Gaga's tickets are like, you know, $800 or $900. I'm like, who can afford that? Or Taylor Swift's, you know, over $2,000 or $3,000. Like, who can afford this shit, Kevin? Who? Like, you make it so difficult for the person to go attend the show, when, like, we need the people to attend the shows to make money. But if the tickets are too much money, you're not going to make any fucking money. No one is. You know what I mean? We're all just going to lose money in the end of the day.
Well, when I saw that from Ticketmaster too, the guy from Ticketmaster too, I'm like, who the fuck is this guy thinking he is? What the fuck is he talking about? And he's going off on like these arena shows being his experiences, and he equated it to sitting courtside at a basketball game, because you get to sit amongst people of status, and it's an experience, and it's something that essentially you can use to brag to people on social media and create this facade that you're more important than you actually really are. When it comes to the concert experience, you're there to witness the music. You're there to witness the experience and feel that you're there to support the artist. You're not there to like watch the biggest, wildest Super Bowl halftime production show every single night. Yes, we love seeing some of these crazy theatrics on stage, but I've seen bands go up on stage with minimal theatrics, and just the way that they present themselves on stage can be the biggest connecting piece of all time. There's a band out there that their music just doesn't really hit for me, but seeing them up on stage and seeing what they do, I'm like, I've seen these guys with no production, nothing behind them, and it was captivating. And those guys are in the Funeral Portrait. The way that they move on stage, the way that they connect with the audience and the crowd, you want to be a part of that show because of how it makes you feel. And yeah, they can strip it down, and they could be selling tickets for, you know, in a smaller venue if they wanted to, $20 a pop, and holy shit, are people going to come and experience that? But you're not going to get people to come and experience that on a consistent basis if your tickets are $80, $90, and people are wondering if they're going to have to spend money on their concert tickets to actually enjoy a show, or just put food on their table, because there's going to come a time where music is going to be priced out. Plus, difference in entertainment. Music, people want to be entertained by, people want to experience that. It's different than sports, where with sports, you have that secular game that like people are into. And there's a wide variety because there's not as many games to be into. When it comes to music, everyone has different music tastes. Everyone likes different artists. Everyone's going to go and check out these artists. But I might be able to go to a baseball game 6 times a year and watch my favorite team play and enjoy. The likelihood that I'd be able to go to 6 concerts and get a completely different experience every time is not going to always happen in that given year. It's kind of stinks. But it just shows that like there's a specific finite way with music where if you overprice it, not only are you going to screw the fans that are just not going to go anymore, the people you're screwing the most are the musicians and the artists. And in the end, what's life without music? It's boring as shit. Watch a movie without any musical composition behind it. You're going to turn it off in 5 minutes and you're going to be like, I don't know what the fuck is going on and I do not like this one damn bit.
Yeah, I was watching. You ever see a really shitty movie, Freddy versus Jason from like 2003?
Yeah.
I'm watching that movie and I'm hearing Spine Shank, not once but twice in the movie. I was like, how the fuck am I hearing Spine Shank in a movie? Like, this is crazy. Like, and even, but like, I think that like the scene's like in a really good spot nowadays. You know, Gojira played the Grammys. Knock Loose is on Jimmy Kimmel doing Pig Squeals. We know all about Pig Squeals, right, Raph? With Crackhead Steve.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, you know, like, and you know, between those things and you know, Spirit Box at the Grammys with Knock Loose, I mean, like, I feel like, you know, I hate to use TikTok as like the new avenue, but you know, Deftones is bigger than they ever been. Sleep Token's doing arenas, you know what I mean? Like Papa Roach back doing arenas, you know, Korn and System just did MetLife Stadium 2 nights, you know what I mean? Like, it's the scene's in a really good spot. You know what I mean? Not as good of a spot as Raph is right now. Raph looks like he's on Pluto.
I'm just getting ready for bed.
Getting ready for bed. In a button-up?
Huh?
In a button-up shirt, you're getting ready for bed?
Yeah, I haven't changed out of my work shirt.
Yeah, he's going to stay in his work shirt. That way he doesn't have to get ready. He's already ready.
Just get something.
Yeah. I just get up, brush my teeth, take a dump, and go to work.
I'll say, but you're right, Mike. I mean, the scene is in a great spot right now compared to where it was when we first had our first conversation back in the year 2000 or 2020. My bad. Wow, I almost aged myself really badly with 2000. Back in 2020. However, it's not going to stay that way if you price out the fans and you price out the artists. Because that's what you know, ticket prices going from $40 to $80 are going to do. From 80 to 160. If you're trying to see Sleep Token, and I'm not saying resale price, but if you're trying to see him in an arena and that ticket price for the upper deck is like $300, who's going to pay that in the end?
And the sad thing is that if people do pay it, then they just drive the demand even further and further. And it's not fair. Like, oh, it's dynamic, you know, oh, this dynamic pricing. I was like, but what does that mean? Like, dynamic pricing, so what? Like, you know, I mean, now you're making it harder. So now that, you know, the other people that can't afford it now, oh, we sold a ticket anyway, so it doesn't matter. It's like, but it does matter. Like, obviously you can't control resale, but it's just like, you need to make these things affordable for the general person, the general listener. You can't make going to a concert, you know, a fucking car payment level of intensity. You can't. I mean, it just needs to be something you can go, you know, and enjoy. And, you know, my fear is that people buy tickets in advance, they pay all this money, and they end up selling these tickets, and they end up losing money. It's like, you know, like, what are you doing? Like, you just, you know what I mean? Like, Spirit Box is a really cool thing this year when they went on tour with Loathe and Dying Wish. They had, like, if you bought a ticket and you buy a ticket and let's say you can't go anymore, you can only sell the ticket for the price that you bought it at. So you're breaking even. The other person buying doesn't get fucked over. So, like, everything's even. Again, you don't make any money, but you don't lose any money either. You're breaking even. And I thought that was kind of a really cool thing that I've never seen before. It's like, oh, yeah, like, you can't make money on your ticket, but you could sell it back to the same face value. And I was like, never heard of that before, but I kind of like that idea, though. It's unique, you know what I mean? But those are the kind of things we need to do. Of like, oh, like, well, I can go to the ticket or can go to the show, but I need to get a ticket. All right, cool. But you're going to pay the actual price, not 3 times the fucking price that some asshole scalper, you know, is putting up there. I think that's a big thing that gets lost in all of this.
Oh, it absolutely does. Because if you have scalpers that are buying up those tickets and trying to sell them for resale, and they're trying to sell them at an exorbitant price, and they can't offload them until the day of, or they can't offload them at all. Now, yeah, the venue, the promoter, and everybody is going to still get that money. But that ticket, that seat, if it's in an arena, is going to be empty. That spot on the floor is going to be empty. And here's a great example. At Louder Than Life this past year, went to go and watch Mugshot play. Love seeing Mugshot play. Love their sound and everything. Their sound was incredible, but not as many people showed up as some other bands. And I'm just like, imagine if this was like them trying to sell tickets to a show and only half the people showed up. Now, if you pack that place out more and people that bought tickets actually are the ones that go to that show, now that show is a lot more intense just by having people there that want to be there. Not by people buying tickets, holding them over. And again, I know Louder Than Life was a festival. I'm like, imagine if that was in like a venue of a cap of like 500 people and only 250 show up, or maybe only 200 show up. There's a whole spot of the room that just feels empty, and that empty void of space drags down the energy of the room. So if you're selling tickets and scalpers are buying them up, it could be the biggest show out there. But next thing you know, if that venue's only half full because scalpers bought those tickets, your show is just not going to have the impact that you want it to have. It's not going to have the impact that it should have. And we want to have the artists have that impact on their shows, because then their shows are taking the experience, giving it to people. People are connecting with it. And not only does that artist's connection with the fans grow, but then the entire music scene grows from that, because that is a consistent piece that keeps happening and people keep experiencing that from one band to the next.
Yeah, I mean, like Raph's very big into this band called, Crumb, Raph?
Yeah, Crumb, The Voids, Passive Cut, a lot of weird bands that nobody I know listens to.
Nobody listens to. But like when Crumb came around recently, Kevin, how many shows you go to, Raph? 5?
Yeah.
Like the man traveled, to Baltimore, Delaware, New York, Jersey, and Philly.
Yeah, no, not Philly, Allentown, and Delaware.
Like, but how much were those tickets affordable though for you, Raph?
Yeah, they're like $30. All I had to do was just drive there.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, like that just, that the Raph got to go experience the same band 5 different times in 5 different states, Kevin, because the ticket was $30 a piece. That ticket was $90. Maybe he goes to 2 of those shows, or 3, not all 5. You know what I mean? Like that's the difference right there.
And even if you do the math on that too, it's like 30 times 5 is 150. But if it's $90 and he goes 2, they're going to say, oh, we're making $180 on it. That's, we're making $30 more off of Raph, and we still can sell more tickets. But Raph was going to go to 5 shows. Raph is only going to 2 now, and people that would go to 2 shows are only going to 1. People that are going to 1 show are not going at all because of that price increase. Because why would I justify going to a different city for a price of $90 to see a band that I might be into? But if it's $30, oh shit, this is so much more, connected, where I'm like, I can do this. And I'm not breaking the bank, and I don't feel like I'm taking something away from other things I enjoy because your ticket prices are so exorbitantly expensive, because the promoter, people like Ticketmaster, say they're not expensive enough because we're not making enough money off of them, so we'll jack up the prices on people and not pay the artist anymore anyway.
And I think that's the thing that gets lost in us. If the artists were getting paid more money because they were jacking up ticket prices, I think we could sit here and have an honest conversation, and maybe it's what's better. But the artists aren't seeing any of the fucking money. It's just these companies, these venues. You know what I mean? It's Live Nation, it's Ticketmaster. They have a fucking monopoly in this shit. I mean, there really is no way to beat them. You know what I mean? Like, and it's a shame because these bands spend all this money on production and and pyro and explosives and trailers, trucks, catering, fill in the blank. And it's like, but why aren't they getting a bigger cut of ticket sales? Why aren't they getting a cut of the liquor sales or the food sales? Why does only the venue get that? Because without the band or the artist, you have no show, you have no money.
I brought that up whenever I heard about like the merch cut issue. When that became a big thing a couple of years ago, my first thought was, why would they take a merch cut if you're not giving the band a cut of the bar? Because the people aren't coming there because you have alcohol. People are coming there because the band is playing there and you just happen to be the one selling it at that point in time. The band is the one that's bringing the people. If you're going to take a cut of the merch, they should get a cut of the bar. If you're not giving them a cut of the bar, you should not have any say or cut in what the merch is. And yeah, you're right, Mike. If the artists were making a lot more money and this whole entire thing came out, we would be having a much different conversation around this. It would still be an honest conversation where we're trying to figure out what's going on with this and what might be the best course of action. But when both the fans are getting screwed and the artists are getting screwed, that's a much bigger issue in itself, and I don't think people are really going to stand for it in the end.
No, I think it's like when I saw System of a Down back in August, I paid $341 for the floor. Please explain to me, Kevin, who the fuck decides that that's gonna be the number? Like, who decides that number? Who? Ticketmaster, MetLife Stadium, System of a Down, Chord? Who makes the decision? And again, I have no problem paying the money, but it's like, who makes that call? I think it should be $150, $175, not $341. Who makes that call? Who makes the call about Raph's $30 ticket to go see Crumb? I mean, who makes those calls? Like, I just would love to know the nitty gritty of like, where do these things, like, where's the root of all these things and where they all start from?
Now, that's actually something I kind of want to look at. I want to see if I should do that. And I'm thinking about this. I should try and find a way to bring that guy from Ticketmaster onto the show and ask him all these questions, like, how does this, like, when it comes here, and how does this actually work? And then really dive deep into, why do you think this is a good idea? But at that point in time, I got to come up with as many numbers and facts and like actual hard evidence of like, dude, you're saying this, you're wrong, and here's why. And if you're going to try and like refute this, here's the evidence. I'm going to link everything in the description, man. Like, everyone can go check it out for themselves, and I got to make it as easy as possible for people to actually look at and view. I might never be able to buy a ticket from Ticketmaster again, but there's always ways around it.
There is, and I feel like,
my name will now on Ticketmaster be Devin.
I feel like people don't like, I feel like even like the streaming shit, like, like I watched Aaron Lewis's interview recently and he was saying, he's like, I haven't seen any fucking money at all. And it's like, if you paid everyone a penny per spins for 1 billion streams, they'd be millionaires in just streaming alone. You're telling me that the band gets a third of a penny on every stream? Like, that's fucking bullshit. How is that fucking legal? It shouldn't even be allowed to be happening.
No, because if it was a penny per stream, yeah, if it's 1 billion streams, but for the band, if it's penny per stream, that's $10 million.
Right.
For 10,000 streams, that's $100 for the band. But what does 10,000 streams get you on Spotify right now? What, a cookie?
Pretty much, yeah. Like, should be at least, $1,000, but I've never gotten a royalty check more than a couple $100 ever. I mean, it's sad. You know what I mean? Like, you're pumping all this money in recording and promoting and marketing, and it's like, can I get some money back? And they're just like, no, fuck you. And it's like, okay. And like, like, I don't, you ever heard that guy, Ryan Downey? He does that Seek and Destroy podcast thing. He's always doing stuff with Spencer from Ice Nine Kills.
Yeah.
He has like this like industry list, and it shows like who's charting and what numbers, first week sales. But his interesting, he has on his email list have attendance numbers. So it'll say like the cap, but they'll give you the actual number what these bands draw. And I'm telling you, there are some scary numbers on there what these bands actually draw. Not what they tell you, what they actually draw. And it's like real hard. It's like sitting there like, that band drew that many people? Like, what the fuck? Like, sometimes you're like, wow, that's awesome. Sometimes you're like, how is that possible? They drew that low.
You honestly, whenever I see that, my question is how much are they putting in their live show? How, like, in terms of promoting it, how much are they putting into their overall, presentation of music? But then again, if the numbers are so exorbitantly large in one spot and they're so exorbitantly low in another, they're buying.
Exactly. I don't know. It's just such a, it's the industry is just set up to make it so much harder for the individual and the artist, especially granted, it's great that you could that like Raph could go buy an interface right now and go make a song, go put up through DistroKid and be up by tomorrow. That's great. But they're making it too easy where anyone could fucking do it. And it's like, there's no way, you need a way to, monetize these things. Like YouTube, you need 500 subs to make any money. You know what I mean? Like, so what if I have 50 subs? Why does that matter? I mean, like, you already have a couple $1 billion. How much more fucking money do you need? You already take enough ad revenue and this and that. You know what I mean? Like,
so the amount of ads that get run against the podcasters is how much money I see because of those ads. It is stupid how little you actually get. But same thing as streaming, but that's the unfortunate way that it is. And the only way it's going to change is if we find out exactly how all of this is actually run. And then what can we do as a collective to change it? Because the only way anybody in this world, in terms of like, especially in the corporate side of things or the industry side of things, the only way they're going to understand is if you vote with your wallet.
Yeah.
If like with, again, use shows, what happens if a band is charging $500 for a ticket? They might be a very popular band, but what happens if no one shows up because no one wants to pay that price? They'll learn really quickly. That's the only way they move and react quickly, is when you vote with your wallet and it affects their bottom line.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, well, guys, I got to wrap this up because we've been going on for quite some time. I want to make sure, everyone only got into Generation Underground once again, but also is feeling the rage around the fact that, in the music industry, especially with the Ticketmaster side of things, none of they fucking over you, but they're fucking over the artists as well, and we got to be pissed off about it. But, guys, I got one last question before we wrap this up. You guys ready for it?
Maybe.
I think Raf might actually enjoy this one because he was already kind of dropping some of these names, but I've been asked this question for about over 2 years now to wrap up shows, and I love it because it gets us into more new music and it lets you guys share the music you love. But I got to limit it to 3 total because otherwise we'll be here all day. But between the two of you guys, can you name me 3 bands or artists that you love that you'd love to see more people get into right now?
Cassie Crumb, yeah, Crumb, and come back to me. I can't think of the third one.
That's like, you know what? Hold on. Let me look at what I've been jamming recently, because okay, I got one. Paleface Swiss. Those guys are fucking mean, nasty, but they have some really good choruses too. At the same token with that, who else that I think deserves the recognition? That, damn, this is a good one, Kevin.
I remember the third one now.
What is it?
The Voids. I don't know how I forgot them. I mentioned them like 5 times earlier. Yeah, Cassie Crumb and the Voids. Check them out, everybody.
All right. I have a good one. So besides Paleface, there's a band called Mood Ring. I discovered them on Liquid Metal a couple years ago. Fucking really hard to describe.
Oh,
but
shit, my phone died.
Like Deftones, if Deftones and Loathe were metalcore. Like really good choruses, really heavy, but like very atmospherical, kind of weird shit too at the same time. So I would go with Paleface, Mood Ring, and fuck, this is tough. I'm gonna think. I might go into my list of like newer artists I've been getting into.
Mm-hmm. Everyone does that.
There's this band called Omerta. They're from Texas that I got into during COVID. Those guys are wild. The singer's like 5'2". The dude's a fucking animal up there just screaming and yelling. But again, I know the band's got like Ross Robinson first album Slipknot kind of energy. Like I would go with them. I'd go Paleface, and I would go with Mood Ring. Those are the 3 I like to see people really get into. There's so much great underground music. There really is. It's like, but some of it's also like a fucking dime a dozen. You hear one, you hear another. How many Deftones ripoff bands are there out there, Kevin? It's fucking insanity.
There's way too many, but that's why I love asking the questions. I get to hear what you guys are listening to. I know Raf said his phone just died, but he gave us 3 right after that. I asked for 3 between the 3 of you. You each gave me 3, but You guys broke the rules. Who really gives a shit? It's not, television. It's a fucking podcast. So we roll with it. But Mike, thanks for coming back on the podcast again for the 4th time overall today. We'll wrap it up like this. So everybody, right now, the brand new album from Generation Underground, Our Shared Lives, is out and available for you guys to go check out. When it comes to being able to check these guys out, listen to their music, stream it, go buy the albums, though, because like we said, that's going to support the artists a lot better than streaming where they're only paying them a crumb of a cookie every single time you stream a song. Go buy an album. Go buy some merch. Go check them out when they're playing live. Description of the podcast has everything linked there for you. Links, labels, everything is down there. All you have to do is click the link and go. I got you covered. Don't let me down. Don't let Mike down. Don't let Ralph down. Don't let Steve down. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's a bad thing.
He literally just texts me, goes, phone. I don't know if you agree. It says phone died.
Yeah, I do. I see it. I heard it right before he left. I'm like, okay, at least we can call it out. But now it's time for number 2, Mike. You've been on the podcast multiple times, and I've always said when I see you perform live for the first time, first round's on me. Dude, I owe you like 4 at this point.
Are you still out in, oh my God, we're Wisconsin or is it Minnesota you're at?
I'm still out in Wisconsin, yeah.
Hopefully we'll get out there eventually. I know the radio stations out there have been liking us, which is a good sign.
I'm assuming probably either the one in Kenosha and one in Madison too, because they're the ones that are really only around here that are playing anything like that.
I think that's what it was. I'm honestly now I'm kind of curious and I want to tell you because now I know the big one was Anchorage, Alaska. I was like, what the fuck?
Wow,
that is unique.
Yeah, because for Wisconsin it would be like 95 Will Rock and WJJO out in Madison would be the 2 that I would assume.
Where's the chart? Nope, that's the chart. I need the radio. This is what I fucking need. Not that. Oh, yep, here we go. All right. To answer your question, Kevin, for Wisconsin, we are getting played. Yeah, Madison. And honestly, what was the other city you were thinking?
I was thinking like Kenosha, but if you name the city, it might be like the radio station might be just like located specifically in a little smaller town around there.
Yeah, it doesn't give me the states; it gives me the cities.
What's the city?
There's Stevens Point, Valsperio, Madison. Milwaukee did not play us, but Madison did. University Heights, Dearborn, Juliet, Cleveland, Council Bluff, Minneapolis.
Yeah, now we're getting further around the Midwest. I would say the Stevens
Rapids, Chicago, and St. Louis.
Yeah. Stevens Point is in the middle of the state, like directly in the middle, and then Madison is southern in the center of the state, and that would mean that JJO is spinning you guys, and JJO spins a lot of good shit.
Okay. Yeah, no, we will make sure we make it out there eventually. Hi, buddy. What are you doing?
Perfect.
Yeah.
And then I'll be able to pay up on that debt. And now it's time for number 3. Yes, the dog has come back to close out this episode. So now it's time for number 3. Mike, as we bring us to conclusion, I can end this by saying goodbye. That is way too final. You'll be on the podcast again. We got to make good on that promise. We got to get you that, first 4 rounds or whatever at this point. But that won't be goodbye, man. That's too final. You're coming back. I'll see you later.
Later, Kevin.
Well, folks, an interview with Ralph, Mike, and Steve from Generation Underground. Now it's time for Kevin's final thought. And yeah, 4 times on the podcast. It's taken them 3 years since their last turn. I think more than 3 years, to be completely and totally honest with you. If I look at the list for Generation Underground, we didn't even spell some of their names right. The last time they were on the podcast, March of 2022. That is over 3.5 years ago. So it's insane to be able to see that they are finally back out there. They're finally bringing new music out, and it's out there for you to check out. But if you check it out, I think the thing that stands most about it is the quality that's there. We talked about the amount of time that they have put together to try and get this music out there, to try and make sure that it was a thing, and make sure it was a thing that they wanted to put out there. Make sure it was as high as quality as possible. And you're seeing the success that has come off of that, from what they brought up with being added on radio to what they brought up with being added on these different charts, when it comes to their streaming numbers and their listen numbers, they're higher on this album already than anything else they've ever done. And I think it came out on September 19th. But if you stream it, there might be only a couple songs on there, I think, at the release of this. But what you're seeing is just all of the positiveness that's coming from this. It's a band that has put in all the work to create something of quality. Go check it out, because quality is king when it comes to music. I don't care what anyone else says. You don't listen to music because it's popular. You listen to it because it's the quality that connects to you. I want to thank the guys for coming back on the podcast again. When it comes to Generation Underground, the brand new album, which is out now once again, called Our Shared Lives. Go scream for the podcast where it says find Generation Underground online. Linkables for everything are going to be there. So go make sure you follow along with them. Check out their music and go support them. Go get a t-shirt. Go buy an album. Be sure to follow along with us on the Corporate Rush Podcast, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, links podcast below as well. Subscribe to us on YouTube, which is right down here. Hit the follow and like button on Spotify podcast. Follow along with us there. Hit the like button on these episodes to help push us further into the algorithm and get more people to know about the great bands in the Corporation Podcast. And that's going to be for me today. Everybody, thank you for watching, listening to the Chord Progression Podcast. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how I end every single one of these episodes. Big, healthy, and hearty. See ya!